This is a 2025 Nissan Rogue Platinum with all-wheel drive. What's new for 2025? This already updated compact crossover SUV comes with an optional hands-free cruise control system called ProPilot Assist 2.1. That system comes with the $3,200 technology package, which is only available on the top two trims, the SL and this Platinum. That means that the base S, SV, and the also new for this year Rock Creek trims only have the more typical adaptive cruise control. I did recently review the new for 2025 Rock Creek Rogue, and I did it completely off-road at an off-road park, and I will have a link to that review in the description, and it should pop up on the screen right now. Since I reviewed a Rogue on the road, it also received a new 3-cylinder engine and several other updates. So, whether I'm using my hands or not, how does this new Rogue drive? Let's find out. I review all kinds of cars, and I have fun every time. Please subscribe and join me. The base price for a 2025 Nissan Rogue S with front-wheel drive is $30,620. Adding all-wheel drive to the Rogue costs $1,400 regardless of which trim you choose, except for the Rock Creek, as that comes standard with all-wheel drive. If you decide to go with an all-wheel drive Platinum Rogue, that will cost you $42,310. And my test car included 2 packages and a 2-tone paint and cost $46,850. Okay, with all that, now is a good time for me to pull over and show you around and inside and under the hood of this 2025 Nissan Rogue. The last time I reviewed a Rogue was for 2021, and I do have to say that the 2024 mid-cycle update was fairly subtle. You still have the same upper daytime running lights and lower main beams right here, and the same basic shape for the grille, though they did tweak the shape of the front grille a bit and added a bit more texture and things like that. And I do have to say that I think these subtle changes went in the right direction. I like that the grille is a little bit simpler, but has some nice detail. I thought it looked nice in 2021. Thought the update is a nice direction for 2024, and it continues for 2025. All right, let's look under the hood. Well, there you have it, a turbocharged 3-cylinder, 1.5-liter engine, variable compression turbo. That is what VC turbo stands for. Nice reminder that it is in fact a Nissan. You get 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. Not bad for a little 3-cylinder engine. That is 75 pound-feet of torque for every cylinder. The center line of the front axle is right around the back of this fuse box here, this bracket for the battery. So much of this engine is in front of the axle center line, and it is inherently a front-wheel drive setup, so it is transversely mounted, which means that the transaxle's up here as well. But because this is all-wheel drive, weight distribution isn't too bad. 58% of the weight is in front, 42% in back. It's not great, but I have heard of worse, certainly. And finally, windshield washer fluid is up here on the passenger side, easy to get to. Looking at the Rogue in profile, this gives you a good chance to look at the optional 2-tone paint. We've got champagne silver metallic on the lower half, and then super black for the A-pillars and up and the roof. You take a fairly generic swoopy compact crossover 2-box shape, and there's a lot of little styling elements going on here. All comes together pretty darn well in my opinion. Makes it an interesting looking crossover, and I'm gonna say kind of classy. I will go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen so you can check those out and let you know I have a lot more information in the description. You're looking at a 19-inch wheel on the Platinum Rogue. 17-inch wheels are the base, 18s on the SV, back to 17s for the Rock Creek, and then 19s for the SL and the Platinum. But the Platinum wheel is its own design and color, and I think it looks nice. And I do have to say I'm happy it's 19s and not 20s or bigger, because we have 55 series rubber here. We do have a little sidewall to work with to absorb some bumps and cracks in the road. And yes, it is a compact crossover SUV, so it is a square setup. The wheels and tires in back are the same size as what's in front. Looking at the Rogue from the back, we do have, lots of interesting details here. So we have a fairly subtle roof mounted spoiler right here, and it is that super black that we talked about. Then a fairly steeply raked rear windshield, and it does kind of bubble out as you go. And then that comes down to the Nissan Rogue, but then the license plate is set in a few inches before you get down to the bumper, and then the bumper has this nice chrome piece right here before we get to more black down low. And because we have the Platinum Premium Package for $990, we also have a motion activated lift gate. And with the lift gate rises, that gives you access to 32 cubic feet of storage behind the second row. We also have these optional shelves right here. With these removed, that allows a few inches below the access point right here, and a little bit more space right there. And beneath that, we have a space saver spare, but an actual spare tire underneath. By the way, these shelves are called Divide and Hide. This one is on pins. You can put those pins out and it'll easily rotate there. And if you need more than 32 cubic feet of storage, that is easy to do. We have these little levers right here. Pull those and that gives you 74 cubic feet of storage and room for you and a passenger. And what I would say is plenty of room for my bike, but let's find out. Yeah, no problem at all. Slides right in. The loading floor is a tiny bit on the high side, but honestly, it's fine. Nice and wide, plenty long, fits my bike with no trouble at all. All right, let's check out the inside. The first thing I'm gonna do is start the Rogue because there's some things to show you in back with the engine running. Push button start is up here. And it's getting a little dark, so I'm gonna open up the electric privacy panel. Isn't that lovely? We've got a fairly black interior in here, but we do have some nice stitching that you'll see throughout, and we do have nice little elements right here. And we do also have manual sunshade covers on the rear passenger side as well. We do also have this nice quilted semi-aniline leather. That is because this is the Platinum. But the reason I started the car is because we also have a third climate control zone right here. That's in addition to heated seats for the second row and two USB Type-C ports. In addition to the motion activated liftgate, the 3-zone climate control, the heated rear seats, and the rear sunshades are all thanks to the Platinum Premium Package, the $990 package, and there's some even more stuff that package includes up front, and I'll show you in just a moment. More fundamentally, I am 5 feet 11 inches or 181 centimeters tall, and I have several inches of knee room right here. I also have pretty high seat bottoms for good thigh support, and I do still have headroom, even though we do have this panoramic moonroof right here, and the Platinum trim is the only one that gets this as standard. Put that all together, and I definitely have less than a 90-degree bend in my knees. So it's actually a very generous second row for adults back here. I'm pleasantly surprised with that. And of course, we also have an armrest with cup holders because it's a Platinum, baby. All right, let's go to the front. We do have the usual controls on the door right here, as well as 2-position driver's seat memory, and we do have a nice bottle holder down low. We do also have several controls for the powered seats up front, including lumbar support right there. We do have a couple of controls to the left of the steering wheel, and we can adjust both the tilt and telescope of the steering manually right here. The steering wheel itself is a decently small diameter rim. It does have a flat bottom right here and this interesting little design element right here. And it is reasonably thick. A little bit thicker would be nice, but it's a reasonably thick rim. And we do have this nice stitching on the inside of it. We also have several controls, media controls on the left, cruise control options on the right. And I mentioned that we have ProPilot 2.1. This sensor right here is a critical element to that. That sensor looks at you to make sure you're paying attention. We do also have paddle shifters, even though we don't have gears. Downshift on the left, upshift on the right. SL and higher trims get a fully digital 12.3-inch instrument cluster right there. We also have a 12.3-inch center display. This also comes on the SL and the Platinum trims. On the other three trims, it is an 8-inch screen, but the 12.3-inch screen is not only bigger, this one comes with wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. It is wired on the 8-inch screen. You also get Google built in. That's Google Maps, Google Assistant, and Google Play, and you can see it all right here. Another feature of the $990 Platinum Premium package is this head-up display right here. This particular Rogue also has the technology package. That's what allows ProPilot 2.1. It also comes with rain-sensing windshield wipers and what Nissan calls enhanced intelligent around view. So if I put the car in reverse, you'll see that I have a 360-degree view here, as well as the backup camera right here. And you can also turn it on and off with this button right here. Beneath that are the first two zones of our 3-zone climate control. Now, dual zone automatic climate control comes on the SV and higher trims. And we do also have heated seats on either side of that. The heated seats come on the Rock Creek and higher trims. But we also have a heated steering wheel, and that is on the SL and Platinum trims. There's another look at our start-stop button, 2 more USB Type-C ports, a cigarette plug style 12-volt port right there, and a wireless smartphone charger beneath that. We do also have this Prindle right here, which is fairly typical, but it just kind of moves around in place. We also have an electric parking brake, couple of cup holders, and our drive mode dial right there. And beneath that, we do have a lower center console that's right there, and it is fairly deep with a little change holder right there. Looking up, we do have a sunglasses holder, some options for lights, and controls for our panoramic moonroof. And one other feature that only the Platinum gets is a 10-speaker Bose premium audio system. All right, let's talk drive modes. The dial is right there. You have Sport, Eco, Auto, Snow, and Off-Road. So even though this is not a Rock Creek, there is still an off-road driving mode. We do, after all, have all-wheel drive, and we do still have 8.2 inches of ground clearance. We will spend most of our time in the auto drive mode, but we might play with Eco, and we'll definitely toy around with Sport. But to do that, we have to get back to the drive, so let's get back to the drive. All right, let's dig into the powertrain. You already saw the turbocharged 3-cylinder engine with variable compression. That 1.5 inline 3-cylinder also does not take up a lot of space. It makes its peak 201 horsepower at 5,600 RPM and its peak 225 pound-feet of torque between 2,800 and 4,000 RPM. So a nice little 1,200 RPM peak there. I mentioned that this is a variable compression engine. Nissan says that this engine can change between 8:1 and 14:1 compression ratio. 8:1 is on the low side for a turbo engine, but 14:1 is high for any engine, let alone a turbocharged one. So that's impressive that it can have that wide of a change. It does use direct fuel injection to get fuel into those cylinders, but happily, it does also run on regular gasoline. This is the one and only engine you can get in the Nissan Rogue. There's no hybrid option or anything like that. And there is also only one transmission, a continuously variable transmission. I did show you that we have paddle shifters, but we don't actually have gears. So if I hit the negative paddle shifters, I get increases in engine. It does change the ratios for me, but It's just the two cones sliding around to give me those different ratios. And as I mentioned before, every Rogue trim is available in either front or all-wheel drive, except for the Rock Creek. The Rock Creek is all-wheel drive only. And considering the class of vehicle this is, it's a perfectly reasonable powertrain. If I floor the accelerator, yeah, I have to say that the kickdown, it's not a literal kickdown, again, CVT, is relatively quick considering everything, and the response in torque is pretty fast as well. There's not some weird lingering surge with the CVT. It's pretty quick to give you nice pull right from the beginning, and that was in the automatic drive mode. If I switch to sport, you feel a change without even flooring the accelerator because it gets a more aggressive fuel map and it increases your ratios a little bit. And I floor the accelerator. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. The kickdown is about the same speed, but then we stay in a nice high rev range, so we get pretty much full power all the time. That is plenty competitive in the compact crossover SUV class, to be sure. Maybe a little bit on the high end for that. Having 225 pound-feet of torque is definitely a nice add-on. Now, if I go to the more eco-friendly eco mode and floor the accelerator again, yeah, it's actually not bad. It's a tiny bit slower to kick down. It wants to be in lower engine revs inherently, but once it kicks down, the acceleration is just fine. Also, this is a 3-cylinder engine, so it has that distinctive kind of roaring buzz to it. And I have to say, I've experienced 3-cylinder engines in a few different applications now, and this is on the higher end. And just to play with it one more time, I'm going to put it back in the sport driving mode, and I'm going to play with these paddle shifters again, kicking down once. It says I'm in 5th gear, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. Well, let me go to 1st. Nope, it says 2nd gear is it. I floor it. It does automatically upshift. Yeah, it's not bad. I will say the kickdowns are nice to be able to get that kind of response. One distinct advantage of having such a small displacement engine is fuel economy, and it is pretty darn good. You get 28 miles to the gallon in the city, 34 miles to the gallon on the highway, 31 combined. You also get a healthy driving range of 450 miles. And if you get a front-wheel drive S or SV Nissan Rogue, you can do even better. I'll go ahead and put those numbers up on the screen so you can check those out. As an example, those numbers handily beat the non-hybrid Honda CR-V. The problem is that there is a hybrid Honda CR-V, and that indeed does do better. And even though you have a 3-cylinder engine and a continuously variable transmission, you can tow in the Nissan Rogue. Not much, 1,500 pounds, but that is more than nothing. Small utility trailer, a small jet ski, a couple of motocross bikes, stuff like that. But while fuel economy is incredibly important, and towing may be as well, neither are nearly as much fun as accelerating. Of course I had to test it. Let me show you that right now. All right, everybody, time for an acceleration test in this 2025 Nissan Rogue. Have all 3 cylinders pumping as hard as they can. I do have it in the sport driving mode, and I do have vehicle dynamics control off, though with all-wheel drive, I'm not expecting any wheel slip, but let's find out. Coming to a complete stop. Bit of brake torque. A little more than 2,000 RPM off the brake. Oh, not bad. Ed, come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's not bad. We're getting faux shifts, but it's a CVT, so there's no actual gears. But, you know, the acceleration is pretty darn good. It was a bit of an uneven launch. Doing the brake torquing definitely helped us get started. That improved the launch by quite a bit. I tried it without brake torquing before, and it was pretty slow to get moving. But then there's these weird surges and disconnects. You don't have linear power buildup, linear acceleration with that. But overall acceleration is ultimately pretty good and very competitive for a compact SUV. So yeah, this 3-cylinder hums along just fine. Good acceleration for the Nissan Rogue Platinum. All right, let's dig into the chassis. This has the most common chassis you can have for a car like this. Strut suspension up front, multi-link in the rear. It is a four-wheel independent suspension. And Nissan did a respectable job tuning it. It definitely leans on the ride side of the ride and handling spectrum, and there's not tons of feel in here. It's not an engaging drive, to be sure, but it is fully competent and comfortable at what it does. It's always stable and reliable feeling in that sense. The chassis does feel solid underneath you, and because it does lean on the ride side of the spectrum, it does handle bumps and lumps of the road without any trouble at all. Overall, it feels pretty darn similar to the 2021 Nissan Rogue I drove a few years ago. Where this one really stands out isn't in the fundamental suspension geometry or the ride and the handling, but in the technology. Pro Pilot Assist 2.1. So, of course, I had to test that technology. Let me show you that right now. All right, everybody, time for a test on the interstate. See how this 2025 Rogue feels on the open road. It is very windy today, I have to say right off the bat, but we do also have Pro Pilot Assist 2.1, which means sustained hands-free driving, and I'm definitely curious to check that out. That is in addition to a bunch of other driving aids, of course. So I have everything on, the steering assist on, the Pro Pilot Assist on. So see how it goes. Okay, cruise control is on and set to 78 miles an hour, though we're not going 78 right at the moment. Pro Pilot Assist is green, which means it's all activated, but it's not fully on. The 2.1 bit isn't on yet, but because it's green and I do have steering assist, I will take my hands off the wheel as we go through this subtle curve. And as we go through the curve, the screen turns blue, which means that I am sustained hands-free at this point. Let me quickly show you what I'm talking about. It's right there. I can't put it directly in front because then the camera will not be able to see me and see that I'm looking ahead. We also have this little button here to assist with lane changes. Now, the sustained hands-free is single lane only, but we're gonna turn this on, see what it does. Yeah, it's checking. So it will do a lane change for you, but then it wants your hands back on the wheel. So you do have lane change assist and you do have sustained hands-free driving. You do not have them at the same time. So this system is not as robust as Super Cruise, but it's a clever system. It's a different way to do it. And so far, it's working pretty well. I am staying nice and centered in the lane, and I am sustained hands off, so it's working out just fine. More fundamentally, we do have pretty decent cabin isolation in here. You do hear a little bit of wind noise and a little bit of road noise, but again, it is also very windy. You might even be able to see that it's snowing outside right now. So considering the weather that we're driving through, I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how well this cabin is isolating us from the noises. And this is actually a pretty darn fuel efficient SUV, considering that there's no hybrid option of any kind. All things considered, this would actually be a pretty nice and practical road trip car. So, what do I think of this 2025 Nissan Rogue Platinum? Well, I think Nissan does a great job with its Platinum trims generally. It has all the luxury items I would want. Nice leather seats, comfortable seats, good adjustment in those seats, heated steering wheel, heated seats for the second row, and good real space for the second row. Even though this is a compact crossover SUV, I would have no problem putting two adults back there. They have their own heated seats, they have manual sunshades, they have good inherent space. Now, I don't love this 3-cylinder engine. The power delivery is a little asymmetric. You get these weird surges here and there. That's partially the engine, that's partially the continuously variable transmission. But the amount of power and the amount of acceleration you get is actually pretty impressive. But these days, there are also a lot of really nice, really well working hybrid powertrains out there. But this Rogue is also nice and small, looks sharp, and again, inside has all the creature comforts I would want. I really enjoy having Google built in. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is really nice as well. And the fact that you can get a compact crossover SUV with any kind of sustained hands-free driving, I think is super, super cool. So if you combine the inherent space, the inherent luxuries, and the technology offered in this compact crossover SUV, I think this new Nissan Rogue really has a lot of strengths. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you very much for watching.